So season 4 of The Boys has just concluded, and it's safe to say that whilst it might have been a divisive season, the finale was an episode that gave it the send-off that it deserved. Over the course of the 8 episodes, we saw familiar Supes, but we were also introduced to a load more that have now altered the ranking of what the most powerful Supes are. So with that, I thought I'd rank every main Supe that we saw in the show and place them in order in terms of powers and abilities. So let's get into it. Here is The Boys Season 4, every Supe and power ranked. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Number 21, Webweaver. Coming in last place on this list is Webweaver. I think it's kinda self-explanatory. We didn't properly see him utilize his powers in the show, but all we saw him doing was shooting webs out of his shooter. When it came to being in a room with Homelander, he crumbled, as most people would, so I don't blame him for that. But he simply yielded and got torn in half. He didn't fight back in the slightest, and the fact that Firecracker managed to persuade him to go to Vought showed the easy mindset that he had. So he very much deserves to be in last place. He was useless. Number 20, Ezekiel. Like Webweaver, Ezekiel was another Supe in this season that got killed. However, at least he put up a fight. Ezekiel had the ability to be able to stretch out his limbs and all the usual extras that one gets after taking Compound V, such as strength and durability. However, in the blink of an eye, he was destroyed in a matter of seconds, leaving him in hundreds of pieces all around the van. So whilst he was strong against the human form of Butcher, against a Supe, he was quite simply no match. Number 19, Splinter. Splinter appeared in episode 2 of season 4, and we saw that he was essentially Firecracker's biggest supporter. He had the ability to multiply himself a countless number of times, and they could all move and act independently. Whilst he was extremely weird, he did manage to put up some kind of fight against the boys. However, it ultimately got too much for him, and he was killed. So whilst he wasn't the strongest by any means, he was the strongest when compared to the weakest few. Number 18, Firecracker. I honestly don't know how Firecracker is still in the 7. Her powers are extremely lame. All she can do is snap her fingers and cause a spark to go off. She even got it handed to her when Starlight fought her in one-on-one combat, so her powers really aren't that impressive. We don't even know how much of a sharpshooter she is. However, the only thing I'd say that warrants her being above the others is the fact that she's been able to get close to Homelander and find out what appeals to him. So she does have some kind of brain in order to find a way to thrive and survive. Number 17, Tech Knight. Tech Knight's powers are actually quite cool. Being able to read people by utilizing all of his senses in an enhanced way is something that allowed him to work out whether people were telling the truth or not. However, he had a couple of big weaknesses. The fact that he had this obsession with holes and the fact that he had a filthy mind. Plus, he wasn't really that respected amongst other Supes at all, especially Homelander. We never saw him in a fight of any kind, and when he was restrained, he wasn't able to break out in any way. Whilst his powers are good for investigative work, when in combat, they're pretty useless. Number 16, Zoe. We didn't see much of Zoe's powers in this show, but within the first episode, we saw that her powers were extremely deadly. She has these snake-like things that come out of her mouth, which all have their own mouths too, and in turn, they can attack, kill, and tear off limbs. She was able to take out a room full of people, and she was close to even getting Frenchie and Kimiko. So her time in Red River is going to be something which will most definitely be interesting to watch develop, as she could end up doing a Vicky Neuman there. Number 15, Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter's powers and abilities were actually quite impressive. Their powers not only allowed them to take on the form of somebody, but it also allowed them to possess their memories as well, truly enabling them to mimic the person that they're trying to be. They were also resistant to bullets, which was a massive strength as well, as they had good fighting skills. Number 14, Black Noir. This Black Noir is definitely interesting. He's not as strong or powerful as the previous one, but he can hold his own in a fight and also has the ability to fly, something which is extremely advantageous. I'd say this Black Noir also feels extremely inexperienced, and the narcolepsy that he has is a huge weakness too, as he falls asleep during fights. Number 13, The Deep. In water, the Deep is the most powerful Supe that there is. However, this show isn't set there, so he ends up falling down the rankings quite a bit. With his ability to communicate with marine life, his extreme strength, and his power of being able to breathe underwater, they're all extremely impressive. However, it's only really the super strength that we ever see him use. We saw that he was able to hold his own in a fight against Butcher and a non-powerful Starlight. However, as soon as A-Train arrived, we saw that he met his match and wasn't able to defeat him. I also think that Deep's mind lets him down sometimes. He's an extremely emotional individual, and that can sometimes get in the way of things. Number 12, Kimiko. Kimiko is an extremely powerful Supe in the sense that she has enhanced strength, and although she may not be the best fighter that's out there, she's able to regenerate limbs and also bring herself back from the dead. Within this season, she had her face smashed to pieces and it recovered, her leg chopped off and it grew back, and also she was killed but then she came back to life, so her powers are extremely impressive to watch. Sam did easily restrain her in the finale, which is something that I was a bit disappointed about because I honestly thought she was stronger than that. Number 11, Huey Sr. We only saw Huey Sr. with his powers for a brief moment, but he was terrifying with them. If he didn't have the issue with his memory, then his powers would definitely be up there. We saw that he had the ability to essentially move through objects, and with that, he could also do that to people and ultimately kill them in the blink of an eye, as you wouldn't see him moving. The only way he was able to be stopped was by him choosing to willingly die, so in another world, he'd be quite hard to defeat. Number 10, Cindy. We haven't actually seen much of Cindy in the entirety of the show, but she did make a small appearance in the season finale. We know that she essentially has the ability to use telekinesis to not only kill people, but also crush objects. The most dangerous she looked was in Season 2, where she made somebody simply explode. It didn't look like it required much effort from her at all. As I said, we've not seen her full capabilities, but it's terrifying to think about the damage that she could do. I imagine she'll most probably move up the list with time. Number 9, A-Train. A-Train truly showed his strength in this season when we saw him facing off against the Deep and Black Noir when he arrived at the HQ. His speed is definitely his strong point, as it makes him hard to find. With his tracker gone, Homelander and Sage found it near on impossible to find him. His speed is a good offense move when in combat, but also a good evasion tactic as well. I think we're going to see his powers being utilized more in the final season when he'll most likely return and look to participate in the fight that he fled. Number 8, Victoria Neuman. I always thought Neuman was one of the most powerful Supes that was out there. However, in reality, we saw that she was actually so easily killed by Butcher in this season of the show. Simply cover the eyes and she's powerless. Her head-popping abilities and blood manipulation was something that was always a threat, and she killed many over the course of the few seasons. However, this time round, she was caught off guard, and it showed that her defense wasn't actually that great, and that if you simply just covered her eyes, then she was easy to take out. So for that reason, she's in 8th place. Number 7, Sam. Sam is arguably one of the most powerful Supes in Gen V, but we haven't seen enough yet to compare him to that of the boys. We saw him restrain Kimiko with ease, but that was pretty much it. It's said that Sam has the ability to kill in one punch if he chooses to, but as well as that, he also uses the sheer strength that he has to jump extremely far, giving him a good option for evading if needed. Number 6, Cate. I think Cate's powers are underrated. Granted, in combat, she's pretty useless, as she doesn't have much strength and doesn't have great fighting skills, but it goes beyond that. If she gets close enough to somebody, then she can make them do anything that she wants. We saw this utilized on Frenchie in the season finale when she made him get in the van, but we saw it used most in Gen V. So her strength almost lies in not needing to put herself in danger and simply just uttering a few words. She's also able to enter people's minds and hear their thoughts. Number 5, Sister Sage. Like Cate, Sister Sage doesn't really rely on being in close combat. Her strength lies in being the puppet master and watching everything unfold. She's the most intelligent being in the universe, and with that knowledge comes the ability of being able to predict what's going to happen based on people's actions. Within the finale, we saw that everything that occurred was exactly what needed to happen and was part of her plan. The evil smile that she had on her face was indicative to the type of person that she was. She made the government fall to its knees with ease, and she showed that she's quite literally the master manipulator, speaking to Homelander how she pleased and doing as she pleased in every way possible. Number 4, Starlight. When Starlight has her full powers, she's definitely one of the most powerful Supes that there is. We've just not seen it in a long while, so don't let that fool you. In the closing moments of the season, we saw that she got her powers back, and we saw her fly in a way that we'd never seen before. Starlight essentially absorbs electricity and sends it out in blasts of light, rendering people blind or treating it like energy blasts basically. When up against most of the Supes on this list, I think she could take most of them. We also saw the strength that she had in this season when she went up against the Deep, Firecracker, and also Shapeshifter, so she's definitely a powerful one. Number 3, Butcher. Coming in 3rd place on this list is Butcher. We only saw him utilize his powers twice, but the 2 times that he did use them, people were bathing in blood. He killed Ezekiel with ease, and then he also killed Victoria Neuman with ease too. Neuman was considered to be such a powerful Supe, one that they felt as though they needed to develop a virus in order to take her down, and Butcher just walked in and had it done in seconds. Butcher has these tentacle-like things that move out from his chest, and they each act individually. It seems like they're also able to generate a lot of strength too, as he tore Neuman in half. I feel we've only seen the beginning of his powers, and it's something that I can't wait to see more of. Number 2. Ryan. Ryan is essentially a mini Homelander. He possesses all of his powers, and we're slowly seeing him morph into a younger version of his father, killing the stuntman, but most importantly, killing Mallory and being numb to the whole situation. The human side to Ryan is what makes him less dangerous than Homelander, but he has the capability to be just as strong, if not stronger than his father if he puts his mind to it, something which is extremely dangerous. I think if Ryan was in control of his powers, he'd be able to take down any of the Supes other than his father. Number 1. Homelander. I feel this was always going to be one that was obvious. We've not seen anybody really rival Homelander rather than Soldier Boy in The Boys. Homelander's powers are self-explanatory as we've seen them a million times. His laser vision, his extreme strength, durability, enhanced senses, and he can fly. He's just overpowered in every single way possible. But the thing that also puts him at number 1 on this list is the fact that he inflicts fear into everybody that he meets. This season in particular, he was a ticking time bomb, and it was a matter of time before he imploded, which he did. Homelander desires praise, appreciation, and love, and when he doesn't get that, he goes off the rails. With him now also holding the position of power in politics that he's always wanted, and him making Supe supremacy a thing, he's the most dangerous that he's ever been. Rankings do often prove to be controversial, and whilst some are likely to change as time develops, this is where I'd currently rank all of the Supes in the show based on their powers and abilities and the situations that they're in. So, there you have it, The Boys Season 4, every Supe and power ranked.